Welcome to the Quit Vaping podcast, the podcast designed to make you a non-listener. In this show, I'm not going to scare you away from a life of vaping. What I am going to do is show you just how good your life can be without it. Thank you so much for listening and enjoy the show. All right, guys, hello and welcome to episode 57 of the Quit Vaping podcast. And today is going to be a very different and a very special episode compared to what you're used to. I know that most of the episodes in this podcast are directly talking about vaping, quitting, and all these kinds of things. But today we're going to talk about why I help people quit vaping and where that fits into the larger context of your life. So if you are currently not feeling like you're aligned with the life that you really do want, if you're feeling like you're not sure what you're doing with your life, you're feeling lost, stuck, unmotivated, or if you know that you're living a life that's too small and you have dreams that you're sleeping on, this episode is going to be so incredibly valuable for you, okay? I'm feeling really sentimental today as I woke up in a good way. I have one more week in this apartment I've been in for the last 2 years until I move back in with my parents for a couple months and spend all of my time, energy around them and all of my money and resources towards my business while I learn how to grow and scale. So welcome, guys, and this is just going to be such a good episode. So take a deep breath, come enjoy the show, grab some popcorn, and we're talking about today, what should you do with your life? So before we start, I want to give you the backstory of where I started a couple of years ago and where I am today, so you can understand how I've created these tools and how I've learned how to answer this question, okay? So as you guys may know by now, you will know that I graduated high school in 2013, in Michigan, a little small town. And then I spent the next couple of years after that really just lost, just doing random menial labor jobs. You know, I've done everything. I think I've counted 26 jobs I've done in my life, and they have been ranging from, you know, working at restaurants, doing every job under the sun at a restaurant, to manual labor, to internships with government and politics. And I've worked at Costco, and I've done daycare and summer camp programs, and I have worked at car sales. I've done marketing jobs. I've worked in headhunting. I've done door-to-door sales, which that was a really hard job. That was the hardest job I've ever had, honestly, just mentally. But I'm missing a whole bunch. Anyways, the thing is, I used to consider myself an expert at entry-level positions because I was always kind of lost and I was trying to find my way. And I was always trying to find my way working for other people, which obviously that didn't work out, thankfully. I'm so happy I own a business now. But anyways, in 2018, I was dating a German guy, and he moved back to Germany, and I didn't want that relationship to end. So I decided to quit my car sales job where I was making about $10,000 to $12,000 a month. I was really good at what I was doing, and I literally moved to Spain on a whim. I bought a plane ticket. I sold everything I had, my car, all my belongings, like quit my job, and I just decided to move to Spain. So I did that, and I had this leap year. I had a gap year when I was 23 to 24, and it was amazing. It was literally seriously, like a Disney vacation for a whole year. And it was just so cool. And I had such a nice experience. I really recommend everyone to do that at some point. And if you have the story in your mind that you can't, please really question those limiting beliefs about it, because it's not true. Like, you can go, I got TEFL certified for a couple $100 online, and then I could go there and work. I had money saved up, so I didn't need to do that. But I promise you that a lot of the people that were there in student housing were just doing exactly that. And they were able to just work a couple hours a week and pay. It wasn't that expensive at the time. Okay. So please, if you have limiting beliefs about wanting to move abroad, especially in your early 20s, question those. They're not true, but if you believe them, they will become true for you, okay? And that's how all of our belief systems work. Just a little nugget for you there, okay? So anyways, in 2019, I go to Spain. I spent the whole year there. I came back home, and I went through what I would call a clinical depression, okay? And I was living at my parents' house in the room I had lived in my whole life pretty much, and I'm going to literally be moving back in there in like a month or a week, which is totally okay. I'm a completely different person now. And I went through this depression. I left somebody that I loved in Spain, literally in the middle of falling in love with them, left. My visa was up. I had to come home. I had $0. I actually came home and I owed $3,000 to the IRS from sales I had done the previous year that I didn't pay tax on. And I was literally jobless. I was loveless. I was moneyless. It was not a good time for me. And what happened is, I think I fell into this thing called the quarter life crisis, where I was watching all of my friends all around me figure their things out, getting married, getting engaged. And I was literally at my parents' basement, or the upstairs bedroom, crying to myself every night silently and treating everyone around me like crap, because I just was in such a bad headspace. I don't know if you've ever been in that spot in your life where you're going through something that's really hard, but I do believe it was clinical depression. I went to therapy for it, and I always refused a diagnosis personally. I didn't want to get labeled, but that's what would have been if I would have accepted a label. So Anyways, I decided that my life wasn't going how I wanted it to. So I decided to go and start working at a psychiatric hospital after I had a lot of nosebleed jobs working at bars and like just horrible dead end jobs that I knew that I was way more capable of creating a life that was bigger. And I hit rock bottom. So I decided to go into work at a psych hospital while also getting my 4-year degree in psychology. I had a previous 2 years in accounting from a community college, and I figured I should add on and go the traditional route. But long story short, that didn't work out, the already existing fields, and I knew I had to create my own business. I knew that. So that's my journey to where I became a life coach. It's been a long journey to get here. At least for the last 11 years or so, I've been looking for purpose and direction and passion, and I've created it. And I know that a lot of you guys right now are not feeling like you're living the life that you want, like it isn't even a possibility. And like, even if it is a possibility, it's like a dream, you're like, yeah, one day that'll be possible for me. But let me tell you something. If you guys want to create the life that you want, whatever that looks like to you, or you want to figure out purpose and passion, I actually do believe that I found the framework to do that. And I think that quitting vaping and quitting your substances that aren't serving you is the first thing you need to do in order to go after the life that you really want. And let me explain, okay? So I have this thing called passion greed. And I have this whole idea that a lot of people won't take action towards their dreams because they feel the entitlement to know exactly what their dreams should look like before they take the first step. And I'm raising my hand along with all of you guys because I'm just as guilty as that, okay? I worked so many jobs from like age 16 to 22 where I thought that I should know exactly what I wanted and I should know the exact framework forward and the exact path forward before I could take my first step. And I know that a lot of you guys are in that boat. And let me tell you something. Now that I'm 3 years into my own business, the actual skill set that has gotten me here is not knowing the framework forward. It's been able to take my blurry step towards what I feel like is the right choice and keep doing that over and over again until eventually I feel like I have purpose and direction and I can look backwards in the rearview mirror and see my steps. But you cannot do that looking forward, okay? So I just want to say this. We're going to talk about how to find your purpose today, but I just want to say that the traditional system of education, at least in the United States, and this is pretty much across the world, at least in societies who have school systems and education systems, is to be told what to do and then just follow those steps. But if you want to live an extraordinary life, like I do, you have to take an extraordinary path, not one that is laid out in front of you, but one that you lay out by yourself, one step at a time, okay? So let's talk about how to find your direction today. And I just want to say that vaping and quitting vaping, this is the first step for me in terms of teaching this work, all right? So the reason I teach people to quit vaping isn't because I think vaping is bad. It's a neutral substance. I still use nicotine in my life sometimes, just like I use alcohol and caffeine. Maybe one day I will become so spiritually enlightened that I don't use any substances. I'm not there yet, and I'm also creating the life that I want with substances being a healthy part of that. So that's where it fits into my life. You can agree or disagree with that, but that's my vision, and I'm very happy with the life I'm creating, even dabbling in alcohol, nicotine, whatever sometimes, okay? So what I want to say to you is, if you're not sure what you're doing with your life, what I want to recommend is that you always know that you're doing things that aren't serving you. And that's exactly where vaping comes in my opinion, especially if you're kind of feeling lost, stuck, you're having a quarter life crisis, a midlife crisis, okay? So again, if you don't know what step to take, at least stop doing things that are hurting you, okay? So if your life's not going how you want it to, I really recommend that you consider cutting out nicotine. Learning how to do that in a healthy way, by the way. Learn how to manage your thoughts and emotions around it. And I'll tell you why in a second, okay? I recommend that you consider your relationship with porn. I recommend that you look at your relationship with alcohol, with how you're using food in your life. Make sure you enjoy the way that you're eating food and using it. You're not using it as a coping mechanism for things you're unhappy with. Look at how you're using, I think we said alcohol already, nicotine, porn, social media, how you're spending your time at nighttime, like any substance that releases dopamine. And practically our whole society is filled with substances that release dopamine, right? Like even medications. I really want you to consider where medications fit into your own life by your own definition, not by a clinician. It's important for us to be able to critically think about our own use of things, even if they've been prescribed by someone who we think is more educated than us, okay? And maybe they are formally educated, but nobody knows what's right for you in your life except for you. One of the most fundamental things I disagreed with when I worked in the psychiatric hospital is that all the clinicians there thought they knew what was best for their clients, and they fucking don't. Okay? You can think that you know what's best for someone else. You don't. And let me tell you that one of the biggest reasons why the psych hospitals fail so awfully is because they're arrogant enough to think they know what's best for people, and they don't let the actual patients decide what's best for them and help them understand their life on a larger context. So understanding why you want something is really important. I really encourage people to critically think about why they're using substances of any kind in their life and make sure you like the reasons, okay? Now, the reason why I say that the first place to figure out what you want to do with your life is to cut out things that don't serve you is because typically the things that don't serve you that you're doing are releasing dopamine. And you have to understand that dopamine is the motivation, the pleasure, and the drive neurotransmitter. So when we're constantly using things that release an excessive amount of dopamine, like vaping, we have a lot less of the motivation and drive that we would naturally have to go after things that aren't fake, false pleasures created by your society, okay, to numb you. So if you don't know what you're doing with your life, you're literally numbing all of the good and the bad emotions, and you're using all of that vital resource, dopamine, okay, to just you're wasting it. Literally, you're wasting it, and then you have no motivation or drive to do things that you would actually find purpose and genuine passion in. When you stop using substances, the reason why I say that this is an important place to start, and I'm not saying you have to stop forever. I'm just saying consider the way that you're using them, because truthfully, people who use a lot of substances, I promise you, without exception, you're using those substances to avoid things in your life that you're not satisfied with. If you were completely happy in your life, you wouldn't be using substances. Why? Because the reason we use any substance, I don't care what the substance is to change how we feel emotionally. And people who are really happy in their lives do not have the drive to change how they feel emotionally very often. Okay? With that said, I'm not saying you never use substances, but you don't use them in excess, and you definitely don't develop issues with addiction and dependency on substances. Okay? So what I want to say is, if you don't know what you're doing with your life, recognize that not only are substances distracting you from what you're actually feeling, right? They're allowing you to tolerate a life that you're not happy with and numb you about that. They're also using all of the dopamine that would naturally guide you forward, give you the motivation and drive to go after a life that does thrill you. Okay? That's why substances are so detrimental. And what I want to say, you guys, is you have to understand that your brain is always going to want substances that release dopamine. The reason is because your brain works on a system called the motivational triad, okay? Every single living organism on this planet is functioning on something called the motivational triad. And what that triad is to seek pleasure, avoid pain, and to conserve energy, all right? And the way that our pleasure system is built on is the neurotransmitter dopamine. So I promise you that every single substance that our society has engineered artificially releases more dopamine than your brain is normally used to releasing. So what happens is our brain creates an over-desire for substances that are artificially concentrated, okay? So things like vaping, which has a ridiculous amount of nicotine in it, a ridiculous amount of nicotine that like literally you release more pleasure chemical for vaping than you would for sex. Okay, that's how strong the artificially concentrated substances are in our society. That goes for alcohol. That goes for things like, cocaine, amphetamines like Adderall, right? Like if you're taking Adderall every single day, go figure you're not motivated to do things like it's literally speed. Okay. It's literally like nothing is more enjoyable than Adderall. How do I know? I took it for a year straight and I felt fucking fantastic on Adderall. So I just want you to consider the way they're using any substance. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it doesn't have useful roots. I do believe in medication. I believe it can be used properly like any other substance. I am not polarized on that, but I just want to consider for your own life why you're using substances of any kind, okay? When I was using Adderall, I was abusing it. I didn't actually need it. I will tell you that right now. I wanted to take Adderall when I worked at Costco because I hated my job. And when I took Adderall, I loved my job, okay? But really, when I stopped taking that substance, I realized how unhappy I was at that job and how I was actually using that substance to avoid my own discomfort with the job. Okay, so I just want you to consider your own life. And if you have any defensiveness come up, by the way, while I'm talking about any substance, any resistance or any defensiveness, I promise you that is the work you need to look at. The presence of defensiveness, that is a sign that you probably are using the substance in a way that you don't fully agree with. If you are defensive, it's not because of what I'm saying, it's because you believe what I'm saying deep down. So do the work on that. Okay, be honest with yourself. All right, so remember that your brain has the motivational triad to seek pleasure and avoid discomfort, okay? And remember, avoid pain means emotional and physical pain. So your brain is wired to want to go after the substances that our society has created, okay? So Unless you learn how to manage your thoughts and emotions, this is the skill set I teach as a life coach, you're always going to want to go after substances and you're not going to know how to not go after them. The reason why anybody has control issues around substances is because they have not learned the skill set of emotional regulation and also thought management. Be mindful of that, okay? So if you're not where you want to be in life, cut out substances. That's a really important place to start. But don't just cut them out. Cut them out in the way that I teach you how to manage them, because you need to learn how to manage your thoughts and emotions to cut them out in the right way. I sincerely believe that. That's why I've staked my entire life on this coaching and the way that I coach. I will continue to do this for the next 40 years. I think it's the most important skill set, all right? So after you cut out substances, what's going to happen are two things. Number one is that you're going to feel really crappy. All right, there's a couple of reasons for this. Number one is that if you cut out substances you've been using, your dopamine levels are going to have to rebalance. And because your dopamine levels have been messed up disproportionately by substances, when you cut them out, your dopamine levels will actually be lower than they normally were. And I can go into the reasons for this. I don't need to. If you look at my vape course and program, I explain this really deeply, but just be mindful that you're going to feel like crap. That's not a bad thing, because also, in addition to your dopamine levels having to rebalance, all the things that you're actually not genuinely happy with your life, those are no longer going to be tolerable. Because when you're using substances, you're literally using them, especially if you're using a lot of substances often, you're using them to tolerate things that you're not happy with. So when you remove the substances, you're literally removing the buffer between you and a life you don't like. Really, really, really good place to start if you want to figure out your purpose. In addition, the next thing that's going to happen, in addition to you feeling like crap and no longer being able to hide from yourself in your life, is the natural desires that you actually have for things that are meaningful and purposeful will start to come back. As you remove the artificially concentrated substances from your life, the things that you actually enjoy on a deep level that cannot compete with drugs and artificial highs, okay, those will start to feel good again. So two beautiful things happen when you remove all those substances, nicotine included. Your dopamine levels balance out, you're confronted with the things you don't like, and also you start to have pleasure for the things you really do like. Really good foundation for you to start figuring out your life and moving forward. All right, so the next thing you're going to want to do after you cut out substances and you start to have all those emotions come up is you want to figure out a way to learn thought and emotional management, okay? I'm not making this podcast as a way to get one-on-one clients that you have to hire me, or that's like the whole point of this podcast, but I want to offer this to you. If you do not know how to manage your thoughts about your life, you are not going to create the life that you want. When I first started studying psychology, I really wanted to study motivation because I grew up in Metro Detroit, okay? It's like not really Detroit, but I like to say that because it sounds kind of cool. I'm from Detroit, 8 Mile, bitch, right? But I wanted to study motivation because I was very, very interested why people like, what's his name? Not Rocky Balboa. What's his real name, you guys? Come on. I know you're saying it right now. You got it, whatever. It'll come to me later. But I wanted to find out why people like Rocky Balboa and why people like Eminem made it when other people didn't. And I thought that I was going to have to study like clinical psychology. And that's why I got my 4-year in psych and I was going to go study motivation and blah, blah, blah. And honestly, the clinical world makes stuff way more complicated than it has to be. The reason I like life coaching is because it's just so direct and it's so clear. Okay. The reason why some people make it in their lives and why others don't is because the people that make it are learning the skill set and practicing the skill set of believing themselves no matter what the outside circumstances are saying to them. So I think it's really important. I think it's the most important skill set you can learn is to determine how to separate out facts of your life versus what you believe about the facts, the story you tell about the facts, because you can actually tell any story you want about facts and that will become your results, not the facts, okay? It doesn't matter when you were born, who you were born to, how much money is currently in your bank account, what education level you have. Those are facts, right? Those don't determine your results. What we make those mean is what determines our results. And by the way, this goes with diagnoses too. It's not the diagnoses that creates results. It's what we believe about the diagnoses, especially when it comes to mental health. So be really careful about the beliefs that you attach to yourself, especially if you have a diagnosis, okay? Very important. All right, so what I recommend is after you cut out substances, learn that skill set. And I'm saying that because this is the path that I went on and why I currently own a successful business and why I will be a millionaire within the next 5 to 10 years without a shed of doubt in my mind. And I will be well known, like it's going to happen. My dreams are coming true. I have no doubt in my mind they're coming true because I manage my thoughts about it every single day, okay? Then that's what continues to get me to take action. So I'd recommend you do that. And then also the next step I want to say is I'm going to take you back to passion greed. All right. So the reason why most people won't take action towards their dreams is because they have this entitlement or this greediness to know exactly what that life should look like and the exact steps forward. And what I want to offer is this isn't necessarily your fault. Okay. We've grown up in a system where we are given the exact steps forward for success. Okay? We're in school. We're like in preschool. They tell us to say the alphabet. And if we say it exactly like they told us to say it, then we'll succeed and we'll get an A+. And then we go into elementary school and we're told to conform, just be like everybody else and behave like everybody else. And we get praise. And then we go into middle school and then we go into high school and we're literally conditioned to be just like everyone else. And then we're literally conditioned to say, hey, like when I was in high school, I did this thing called the senior project. And the senior project isn't about critical thinking. It's not about, hey, what do you actually want to do with your life? Anything is possible. That should be the message we're spreading. It's, hey, this is literally the list of careers from the occupational handbook. Pick the one that feels the best to you and then create a binder about your exact steps forward on how to create that career. And of course, the binder was just like, well, I'm going to look on a college website and just say I'm going to take these 10 classes and I'll get a degree and then I'll be a professional, right? No, we're not taught how to critically think. And the skill set that you need to create an extraordinary life is to think for yourself. That's why it's so important to learn thought management and thought regulation. And because your thoughts create your emotions, the skill set of emotional regulation goes hand in hand with that. That's why when I teach my 3 addiction framework, I teach about the mental addiction, that's thought regulation. I teach about the emotional addiction, that's emotional management. And then I also teach about the chemical addiction because it's important to understand the chemicals in your brain that nicotine and dopamine are affecting when you're addicted to vaping, right? But that's the comprehensive way into any solution. You have to understand thoughts and emotions behind any problem, okay? So unfortunately, I have a 4-year degree in psychology, and let me tell you something. Critical thinking was absolutely not a skill set being taught in my 4-year degree. Actually, I think indoctrination was. I think the universities are so corrupt right now that there's actually no point in going to college anymore unless you're going to be like a doctor and you literally cannot get a job without being a doctor and having a degree. But like if you're going to school for like any of the social sciences or anything, you're just going to be indoctrinated. Isn't it kind of funny that you have to get indoctrinated to be a doctor, right? Because I think a lot of doctors miss a lot of shit too, by the way. So I fundamentally think that the universities are broken. I actually recommend for you guys to check out Peterson Academy. If you want to get a really good education, it's $500 a year. For Peterson Academy, it's like $450, and Jordan Peterson made it. And I don't care what your political beliefs of Jordan Peterson are. He saved my life and pulled me out of depression for free online and saved my life. And I've seen him live now twice. I shook his hand. I cried both times. So I do not care what you have to say about him. He saved my life, and you can have all the fucking political beliefs you want on him. I do not care. It does not matter to me. And if that offends you, please go to some other podcast because we're not going to get along very well. Okay? So that's what I have to say. Also, I think you're fundamentally missing the gender he's referring to is not about disliking trans people. Listen, I'm part of the LGBTQ community and I like this community, and I'm actually going to be one of the leaders in this community who pulls us out of the hedonistic viewpoints that everyone seems to have in that place, addicted to drugs and OnlyFans. So if you have a problem with what I'm saying towards the gay community and you want it to be how it is and go down the path it's going right now with hedonism, please go elsewhere. And I say that with so much love for you guys, but I want to be the person who makes the gay community good and loving again, not full of drugs and hedonistic stuff. So I know that can be offensive and a trigger for a lot of people, but listen, I love the gays. I'm part of it. I want to be that. I want to be a good role model. And I just don't love the path that the gay community is taking, in my opinion. There's a lot of trauma there that needs healing, and it's being dealt with in the wrong ways, hedonistic beliefs in drugs, which obviously I don't stand for as a life coach who helps people quit vaping, right? Just makes sense. So that's my viewpoints. Anyways, I don't know where I was going with that, but Jordan Peterson, that's where you should get your education. You're not going to learn how to critically think in school. I really believe that. The reason that I'm a life coach now today with a successful business is because I've learned the skill set of critical thinking, and I learned that in the life coaching world. I have not seen anywhere else teach that skill set as freely, as easily as the life coaching world. That's my experience. Obviously, you guys can have different experiences. So what I want to say is cut out all the substances for a little bit, learn how to feel the good, bad, the ugly while your dopamine rebalances. And then what you want to do is learn how to manage your thoughts and your emotions, and then literally take one step forward. Okay? Passion greed is trying to have your whole life laid out in front of you because that's what you've been taught you need to be successful. And that's the complete opposite skill set you need to be successful. And I have my own reasons, by the way, for thinking that we're being taught this. I think that when we can load people up with substances that are cheap and powerful, and we can also not teach them how to critically think and indoctrinate them in universities, we're very controllable as a society. Okay? I think this is very much so the outdated model, and I think that us learning how to manage our emotions and thoughts around substances while simultaneously learning how to critically think is the skill set that we are evolving into. And at some point, we're not going to be able to be controlled, and everybody will realize their own worth and their own amazingness. But this is how we do it. So cut out the substances, feel all the good, bad, the ugly, learn how to think for yourself. I'm sorry for saying that if that seems offensive, but I didn't know how to do that before I learned how to become a life coach. I really didn't. I thought I did. I didn't. Okay? That's my experience. And then learn how to feel your emotions. And before I became a life coach, you guys, I literally had never even experienced the emotion of anxiety in my body one time and knew what that was or named it. I had been overeating and doing substances my entire life. And I remember literally sitting down at 24 or 25 years old. I think it's 25 years old. 25 years old. I thought I was an adult. I'm like, I'm educated. I know what I'm doing, right? And I literally remember for the very first time naming anxiety in my body. It was a life-changing experience for me because now I know that there's always emotions in my body. And I can tell you that because I'm connected to my body, I know exactly why I'm taking the actions I'm taking and why I'm not taking the actions I want to be taking. That's important. So that's why it's so important to learn how to manage your thoughts and your emotions, which I teach. Consults are open if you guys want. I'll plug myself, but I won't do it too much. But you don't have to just learn it from me. There's a lot of great life coaches out there. All right. So that's the skill set. And then you want to take baby steps towards what feels right in your gut. Okay. The way that you live your dreams, I swear to God, it's this easy. Learn how to feel your emotions and then learn how to take intuitive steps towards what feels good. That's it. That's all I've been doing the last couple of years. Yes. Is it scary to build a business? 100%. But just because the actions I take are scary doesn't mean they don't feel aligned, right? Because I've been able to get into my mind and my body, I've been able to manage my thoughts about myself, my beliefs about my life, what's possible for me, while also learning how to feel my own intuition, my own compass forward. That's all I need. I don't even need to know the 10-year plan. I have a 10-year plan. It's great. It's amazing. But you guys don't have to have that whole plan before you take action. Remember, that's passion greed. And the reason why you're passion greedy is because you're too scared to take action into uncertainty, even though that's the exact skill set you need to succeed. Okay? So just be mindful that if you learn how to feel your emotions, which literally addiction stops you from doing, okay, that's why I start here with the vaping stuff. Really, the quitting vaping stuff is just like a number one starting point for all my clients. That's where I want to start with them. It's a beautiful place to start. There's nothing wrong with you for having problems with substances, by the way. We've been taught to have problems with substances. Our brain is designed to have problems with substances. That's why I teach the overriding skill set that we're doing, right, with your thoughts and emotions. So you just want to take baby steps using your intuition into the right path. And I promise you that as you take steps forward using your intuition, you're going to learn so much about yourself. And I promise you guys, listen to me, please. If you are not in the place you want to be with your life, please listen to this. If you remove substances for a little while, you feel your emotions, you start naming them, you start taking baby steps towards what feels aligned, maybe not good, but aligned. It's important to understand that. Just because it feels scary doesn't mean it's not aligned. And I would say often that the most aligned things are the scariest because that's exactly where our growth is, right? Do that every single day for a year, and you will come to me and you'll say, Andrew, I no longer have purpose issues in my life. Long pause. Okay? This is the framework towards figuring out what you want to do with your life. And you're never going to get there. Your journey's never over. Once you get to one goal, you're going to have a whole nother, it's like an onion. Every single time that you do this work and you get closer to something you want, you realize that there's more that you want after you get there. So it's not about getting there. It's not about getting to the result. It's about the person you become along the way as you learn to courageously step towards what your heart is screaming you to step towards. That really is it. And because I've been doing this for 3 years now, I will tell you that I am a completely different human being. Not just in my actions and my beliefs about myself, my actual personality has changed over the last couple of years. Because when you change what you believe about yourself and you take courageous steps forward, the relationship you build with yourself, saying yes to the things you want and no to the things that don't serve you, is ridiculous. I no longer want to escape myself most of the time. It doesn't mean I don't overindulge in substances sometimes. I still do. And that's okay. And I don't beat myself up for it. Because I'm creating a big life, I feel really big emotions. And because I feel big emotions, it's easier for me to want to escape them when I had smaller emotions in a life I didn't really want. Okay? So just be mindful that just because you're creating the life that you want doesn't mean your life's perfect. You still have the 50% of the good and the 50% of the bad. I still do a lot of crap that I don't necessarily love doing every single day because I'm building a business. But I will tell you that my life is so much better in this life. And the way that I've gotten here is by learning how to think on purpose for myself, believe things that I want to believe because my beliefs will create results that I want, feel my emotions courageously, allow myself to not feel them sometimes and not beat myself up for it because there's nothing wrong with me for literally wanting to escape a big life sometimes. It's okay, you guys. And say yes to things that I want, no to things that I don't. And I've done it one step at a time, and this is the skill set you need, I promise you. If you're not in the life you want and you're not willing to learn the skill set, I really am genuinely thinking there's something wrong, and I want to find out what's going on. And I want to say this again, this is not a plug for you to buy coaching with me, even though I am a ridiculously good coach and I really do want you to have the biggest life for yourself. I'm not saying this to to like make a sales offer. But I want to say, if I would not have invested in coaching for the last 3 years, there's abso-fucking-lutely no motherfucking way I'd be in the motherfucking life I have right now. And I believe that so deeply that I'm willing to stake my entire purpose on this planet to teach people these tools and to help them learn how to apply it in a coaching situation. Okay? So if you're not where you want to be, and this makes sense to you, not only will you not find this framework anywhere else, this is my framework and it will work for you. You'll find similar variances of it. But I just want to offer that just hire a fucking coach. Listen to someone who makes sense, whose life looks appealing to you. And if they seem like they can help you, don't be a hardhead. Don't be in your ego and think that like you're too good for coaching, or like, oh, a life coach, like I don't need a life coach, like I'm too good for that. It's like, no, bitch. If your life's not going how you want, drop your fucking ego. Step one. And if you don't drop your fucking ego, you're never gonna, sorry for all the swearing today, but I'm really passionate and I don't care. If you don't drop your ego, you're never going to do this work anyways, and your ego is going to create a small, miserable life for yourself, and you're going to get very bitter and resentful, and you're going to blame everyone else outside of you when really you have an ego problem, okay? I am constantly humbling myself, all right? So I just want to offer that to you. If you are having trouble applying this work or learning this work or embodying this work, it's okay to ask for help. It is okay to spend money investing on your mental health. There's nothing wrong with you. I am living proof of that, and I will always get coaching. And I have a coach right now. I just dropped $3,000 on a coach a month ago. And I will tell you, I'm so happy I did, because that coach is actually helping me uncover beliefs about myself and money that I would have never been able to uncover by myself. And if I would have, it would have taken like 30 years in a cave, right? I would have been like Master Shifu. What's the Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda? You know what I mean? The turtle. I love Kung Fu Panda. But I would have been like motherfucking Master Oogway in a cave for 30 years. I would have been like, oh my God, I can't have a bunch of money because then it would make me different from my family. That's a real belief, by the way, guys. One of the biggest belief shifts I've had in the last couple of weeks is my coach asked me a really simple question and I broke into tears. I didn't see that coming. I'm like over here thinking I'm arrogant in my ego. I'm like, I'm good. My money's fine. I know what I'm doing, right? Like I'm a life coach, right? And my coach asked me a question, because I've been struggling on this same level of income for a while. And he asked me, what would it mean for you and your relationship with your family if you actually made, let's say, for example, $25,000 this month? And I just broke into tears because I realized that I've been playing it small for myself because I'm scared what it's going to do to my relationships with my family if I make a lot of money and I totally outshine my parents' financial life and my brothers. It really, I didn't even realize that was there. But that is the power of coaching. And because I've gotten through that and I've realized that I was believing that, I've been able to shed a little bit of that over the last couple of weeks, and I've actually been making more money. It is crazy, you guys. Your thoughts create your results. Let me say it again. Your motherfucking thoughts, every single time you have a thought in your mind and a belief system, will create your results. You will find a way to make that happen, whether it's a woo-woo, like I couldn't have never predicted that, or it's like I'm literally not taking clients right now because I think that if I make more money than I made this month, I'm literally going to outshine my dad and my mom, and I can't do that as an Italian son. I cannot do that. Pride of the family. You are Simba. You cannot outshine Mufasa, But it's a real thing. Like you have these beliefs in your mind that create your results. You're not even aware of them. So anyways, that's my rant on coaching. You don't have to get it right now. I just want you to see the value of it and the power of it and to start to believe in it. And if your life is not going how you want it to, and you're not willing to invest in your own mental health and do this work, then something has gone terribly wrong with you. If it is more important for you to get a car right now, or to redo your kitchen, or to like buy a new piece of furniture, or to go out and party on the weekends than to invest in mental health, then something has gone terribly wrong. And that's the exact reason, that kind of prioritization is the exact reason you're not in the life you want. I promise you. And you need to hear it from someone who is creating the life that they want. I'm not saying that to shame you. I'm saying that as a wake up call. I will smack you over the face today and say, wake the fuck up. Okay? You deserve a big life. You really do. I mean that. Every single person. And the more I do this work, I'm telling you, the more that I do this work on myself and with other people in my life and coaching clients, the more I realize this big life, the one that you really do want, is possible for anyone. It is possible for anyone willing to do this work. I promise you. If you work on your thoughts and your emotions and take action from that place long enough, it is impossible for you not to succeed. I want to be the voice in your life that reminds you that. And any hater in your life, don't listen to them. The reason they're hating is because they don't believe it's possible for them, and to protect their own ego, they have to hate on you. Okay? Holy crap, this was a juicy episode. I'm sorry for all the swearing. I'm sorry if that offends people. I do have kind of a potty mouth sometimes. I know it's like trashy sounding and I don't care. So it's all good. I would never get on like a stage live in front of people and swear, but this is my podcast and, hopefully you're listening in private. So I apologize for that, but I'm like just really in it today. And I really, really do want you guys to live the life that you want. And I do believe that substances and stopping substances and learning the skill set I teach specifically on stopping substances and the way I do it is the skill set it will take for you to live the life that you want. Okay? Substances themselves are not evil, and you actually can have substance issues and live a big life. But I think that it's just, in my experience, this is the best way to do it. Okay. So that's what I have for you today. You guys, reach out to me on Instagram. I have not gotten anybody reaching out to me on Instagram in like 2 months. What's going on? Give me the little dopamine boost. Validate me. I don't need your validation. I love you guys so much, and you're so important to me. I've learned how to validate myself over the last 3 years, so it's all good. But I would like to meet you guys and talk to you guys, seriously. And if you're considering coaching or you want questions about it, even if it's not with me, if you're just considering like any coach and you want, like, reach out to me. Build a relationship with me. I don't bite. I really do want to help you guys. You don't have to spend money with me to build a relationship with me, okay? I don't want you to think that that's the point of this podcast. It isn't. I really just care about you guys, and this podcast is becoming a pretty big platform, and I'm very proud of myself, and I'm very proud that I have this many people I can affect change with, and it's okay if y'all aren't all going to be my clients. It's really okay. I just want to help you guys. So reach out. Hit me up on Instagram, Life Coach Andrew. Follow me on TikTok. I do lives all the time. Find me. I do YouTube videos. Like, just reach out and say hello. It would mean a lot to me, and I would love to meet you. And especially if you're going through a rough time right now, let me know about it, and I will shoot you some direct encouragement right to your face. You're going to get like a gay bitch slap from Andrew over some encouragement in your life. Maybe you need it, okay? But I love you guys. You is kind. You is smart. You is important. You deserve the big life, and the only way you're going to get it is if you can take action by managing your thoughts and emotions long enough to do it, okay? It's possible for you. It is possible for you. If you're currently believing the story that it isn't possible for you, reach out to me. Let me give you some hard smacked love to the face. Ooh, that sounds so creepy. All right, guys, I gotta go. I'm just hanging out. I'll see you guys next week.